Okay, it says it's recording, so we're good to go. Hopefully.
All right, should we let them in?
Yeah, Jeff, is your screen on? Okay, I'll let everyone in. Good luck. Baldwin, put the thing full screen.
So I just can't see anyone else when I'm in this mode, just so you know.
Yeah, but I also can't see the presenter's notes.
If you join as a participant up here as well, you can probably see other parts of the map.
All right, I think we have a decent amount of people in here. So. All right, so ready to start? Right. Well, welcome to the 3rd and 4th grade curriculum night, everybody. Thanks for being here. Trying to get used to this new Teams chat instead of Zoom, so if anything, if you can't see anything, I guess just type it in the chat and let us know. But my name's David Baldwin, and I'm primarily 4th grade, but do some 3rd grade as well.
And I am Allison Shepard. I'm new here to Westgate. I am the 3rd grade teacher and a little bit of 4th grade too.
I'm Angie Rosenblatt. I'm primarily a 4th grade teacher. I do some 3rd grade as well, and I'm also new to Westgate. Hi.
I'm Jeff Hepner. I'm primary 3rd grade, but teaching 4th grade at math.
So we are going to start off talking about RISE. It is something new to Westgate that we are trying this year to help promote and recognize positive behavior through the school and in our classroom. It's a PBIS RISE, which stands for Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. Students can receive a RISE ticket for displaying one of the characteristics below: respect, integrity, safety, or empathy. And this past month of August, we have been discussing RISE and how we can show and act this way in the school and outside of school as well during our advocacy. And we've really been talking about the importance it can play in school and then outside of the classroom as well.
And the kids seem really excited about it, so if they come home with a RISE ticket, you can ask them what it's for. And this is our advocacy page. The purpose of our advocacy is to build a positive community. We focus on a lot of social emotional skills. So last month was RISE, so we're switching into September, which is I Am Strong. So we'll be talking about, physical strength, but also how we can show like emotional strength in the building. We have some other months laid out, but some of the other months are still to be determined. And we'll kind of base that off of that'll be like a school-wide decision where we'll kind of see what the needs of each pod is and see if we can come up with some good topics for advocacy. So if you have an idea or topic that you think would be good for your child, it's something we can consider. So you can reach out to Amanda Novak, who's the whole child education coordinator, or you could just email your child's advocate and we could forward that message on to her as well. Andy, I think this one is you.
Yep, sorry, my screen was frozen for a bit. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about volunteering. We'd love to have you guys in the classroom. Depending on restrictions, obviously it might change, but for now, if you're interested in volunteering, you can send an email to your child's advocacy. In order to volunteer in one of our classrooms, you will need to complete a background check with the office. If it's on file in your school already, you do not have to complete one again. And yeah, if you have any questions about it, you can let us know.
So just for some of the technology that you have access to, the first one is Infinite Campus, and that's how you can check your child's grades regularly. Our goal is to add 2 grades per week in each content area that are aligned to each standard. And at the end of this, I'm going to show you how you can subscribe to your child's Edlio page. That way, when we send out our kind of weekly update for each content area, you get that information automatically sent to your email and you don't have to go looking for it. So that'll be something I show you on the website kind of at the end.
If you go to the homework policy, Mr.
Yes.
Baldwin.
I'm on it on my screen.
I'm not on mine.
It just
There you go. There it is. So here at Westgate, we do have a no homework policy, but that doesn't mean that they might have work to complete at home. Especially if they've have makeup work from excused absence, or there's maybe some extra practice to become proficient in a skill. Maybe if they didn't use their time wisely, we can send that home with a note that says, again, your child did not make a good choice, so we need to have this finished as soon as we can. And then also time to time when we have at-home projects, typically later in the year, that they might need to do some research on or something like that.
This is just our daily schedule, if you want to take a look at that. Really the only major changes to the 3-4 pod are that we have joy reading instead of quiet time. So that is just either us reading aloud to the kids or the kids reading them to themselves, possibly with a partner. And our specials is earlier this year, but everything else is pretty much the same if you're familiar with the 3-4 daily schedule. I think there's a bit of a lag between when I'm switching slides also, so sorry for any delay in between.
And just a correction, Cassie sent it in the chat, but if the background check has to be completed each year. So if you already did one for this year, then it's fine. You're not going to have to do one again for the rest of this school year. And we will also be answering questions at the end that are in the chat.
handy is this slide you?
There's no different slide up
It's
for
the
me.
new schedule, I think,
It's-
for me.
It's still
Yeah.
on third, fourth.
Okay, I don't know why it's lagging so much. I changed it like a minute ago. How about now?
Yes, that's perfect.
Um, Birthdays. So if you guys are having your child's birthday and you want to bring in a snack, please remember to bring in an individually wrapped store-bought snack that is nut-free, both peanut and tree nuts, for 24 students for third grade and 28 students for fourth grade. We also have students in our class allergic to dyes and dairy. If you are able to take that into consideration, please do that as well. And then also it would be great if it lists all the ingredients, and make sure you let your advocacy teacher know and what day that the student is bringing it in, and to make sure that it's okay, so that everybody can have their snack for birthdays.
So here at Westgate, we work on off a standards-based grading. And what that means is that we look at our standards in our curriculum, and that's what we teach by. And so we assign a number to your students' progress within that standard. There's a misconception that a 4 equals an A 3 is a B, a 2 is a C, and a 1 is below, D or an F maybe. But that's really not the case. It is really based on your child's proficiency level within that standard. And so a lot of things depend on and go into that grade, how your student is actually doing or performing. So at the beginning of third grade, for example, they've never been in third grade before, so we really wouldn't see grades much higher than maybe an occasional 3. And if that is true, then that means that they are already meeting that third grade standard, and probably should be pushed towards harder or more advanced within that standard. And so 4s are pretty rare. If you're seeing a 4, or you think your student is a 4, that is really going over and above the proficiency level for that standard. That's our goal towards the end of the year, to make sure that we've covered that standard or that unit to that level that they are at proficiency or above. So if your child comes home with a 2, or you see an Infinite Campus, there's a 2, and even a 1 at this point, the alarm bells shouldn't really go off unless they're all 1s and there's comments next to that. But if they're a lot of 2s, that's where they're at. They're just learning that new skill or that new standard. So it's really okay. Around second quarter, if the 2s are dropping back down to 1s, or you're not seeing a few 3s intermixed in there, then maybe another conversation will be had. But just so that you know, 2s are not detrimental.
So just let me know if I switch a slide and it doesn't match, like on the mic, because I'm on the next slide, and it's just teachers in the pod. Right now we are not switching for math and language arts. We are having our advocacy kids all day. When we do start switching, I will be teaching fourth grade language arts and third grade math, as well as fourth grade science and social studies. All advocacy teachers have their advocacy classes for science and social studies in the afternoon. It's only in that morning where they might be seeing a different teacher in the pod.
You're still stuck on standards based on my screen, David.
Okay. I guess I'll just leave it like this. that okay?
It still hasn't changed.
Okay. I'm just going to represent here because I don't know what's happening with it. Can we all see that?
It's still a blank screen, but it hopefully should load within a few seconds.
Well, it's just the teachers in the pod and what you're teaching. So if you want to just explain what you're teaching and the next one's go into like the actual content.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say I am teaching 3rd grade ELA, and I will be teaching 4th grade math when we do start switching again.
Just like David, I'm teaching 4th grade advocacy, literacy, science and social studies, and when we start switching again, I will be teaching 3rd grade math. And David, the presentation is back up on our screen. It just is, yeah, set right there.
Okay, I will be teaching 3rd grade language arts, 4th grade math, and then back to 3rd grade science and social studies.
So the first content area we're going to talk about is 3rd and 4th grade science, and the 3 branches of science and the 3 standards you're going to see on Infinite Campus or the report cards for both grade levels is physical science, life science, and earth and space science. And depending on the grade level and like the overarching unit, we'll be spending a different amount of time on that, but we'll be getting into the units here next. So these are the 3rd grade science topics. Can you see that?
It's frozen still.
It is still frozen. But I can go ahead.
Okay, it is up now. The 3rd grade, sorry.
So for 3rd grade science, we will be doing the 3 standards the same as 4th grade. We have physical, life, and earth science. Some of the physical science we will be going over is matter and its interactions. We have motion and stability, forces and interactions, energy, and different types of waves. For life science, we're going to be covering molecules to organisms, structures and processes, ecosystems, the variation of traits, and biological evolution. And then for earth and space science, we will be doing earth systems, earth and human activity, Earth's place in the universe, and some natural hazards. And then we also hope to get like some labs in and some experiments that we will hopefully be able to do this year with 3rd grade. Cover all the standards so they get some hands-on activities that they're able to do.
So hopefully you could see 3rd grade social studies here in a moment.
I think you should play the Jeopardy theme song, Mr. Baldwin.
In
Since you're the
between
big
loading
fan.
screens.
Right, you're the big fan of that show.
I don't know if it would just be best if we pulled up the slides on our own computer and just kind of read them since there's such a big lag.
Yeah.
And I can stop trying to share my screen here since that doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, third grade social studies area of study, and you'll see this on the NIC underneath each standards. The four are civics, which is citizenship, elections, democracy, respecting views and rights of others, origin, structure, and function of our national government, economics, specifically producers and consumers, goods and services, the three types of resources and budgets, geography, geographical tools for spatial thinking, similarities and connections among regions, and then history, historical fact versus fiction, primary and secondary sources, and historic human interactions. We do participate with fourth grade in the Night of Notables. And what that is an event where your student will select someone from history who's made notable contributions to or throughout history. And then we will, they'll do the research project, they'll complete a presentation, and then they can dress up as that character. We missed out kind of that in the past year, and we're hoping to get back to that because the kids really do enjoy that piece.
All right, so moving on to fourth grade social studies and science, we have the same overarching ones that Mr. Hefner just explained, but all with a focus on Colorado. So while they are working on geography, generally speaking, we're working on geography of Colorado. We do economics within Colorado today and historically, kind of how Colorado has evolved over time. We'll do civics. Some of the stuff we work on with there is like Colorado statehood and women's suffrage, and history with Native Americans and the ancestral Puebloans. We also talk about how Colorado was settled with the fur trade and the gold rush and topics like that, and then move on to the 20th century and current events. Like Mr. Hefner said, we also do the Night of the Notables. So if they're in third grade, it's a good intro into the fourth grade one, because the fourth grade one, they're choosing someone notable who was either born in Colorado or did their notable work in Colorado. And the students really like that project.
Now to move into fourth grade science, as Ali stated, we have three large topics, which are physical, life, and earth. More specifically, in physical science, we will be going over energy, waves, light, and information. In life science, we will be talking about plant and animal structures and processes. And in earth science, we'll be talking about the history of planet Earth, Earth systems, natural resources, and natural hazards. As well as what Ali stated, we will try our best to do hands-on activities and experiments in science this year, but that's all dependent on how safety precautions given to us by the county. We are trying to incorporate different projects though throughout the unit, including creating presentations like our classes have just done for looking at different forms of energy. So there were kids who did presentations on nuclear energy, solar, wind, fossil fuels, just as a few examples. So we'll be incorporating that throughout the year. Sorry, and then our next slide, which we can provide some of these resources to you as well, just had a list of resources that we like to use while we're teaching science and social studies that give the students access to videos, articles, and activities that they can do on their own or that we can do in class. One of them is Kids Nat Geo. Another is a website called Brain Pop, which is good for a lot of the subjects that we teach, as well as Mystery Science, which has a lot of activities that you're able to do at home if you want to learn a little bit more about our topics that we're covering.
And next, I think we're going to move on to 3rd grade language arts. So we are using something this year called Wonders, and I'm really excited about it. It seems like a great program for the students, and we've already been using it a bit this year, and they have like some really cool tools to help supplement the lessons. They have videos, interactive vocabulary, and spelling lists and stuff that I really think the students will enjoy using during the school year. We do have 6 units of study with it. Right now we are on Unit 1, which is growing and learning. We are learning narrative nonfiction, realistic fiction, and argumentative texts. For Unit 2, it's called Figure It Out, and they will be learning about historical fiction, and poetry. And then for Unit 3, we have a one of a kind, and we'll be doing folk tales. For Unit 4, it's titled Meet the Challenge. We have realistic fiction and poetry. Unit 5, Take Action. We're going to be doing biographies, fairy tales, and argumentative text again. And then our last unit is titled Think It Over, which is biography, drama, myth, and poetry. And again, we are starting Unit 1 now. Hopefully the students will be able to access this even at home if they want to do some practice vocabulary, spelling, or grammar, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm excited for them to be using that this year.
Jeff, you're on 3rd grade math.
Okay, so new this year, we have a new math curriculum, and both of 3rd and 4th grade are going to be using this Big Ideas Math is what it's called. It's completely interactive. Your students will be assigned a login, and they'll be able to get their math work at any point. Right now, we're just working in our workbooks, paper, pencil for now. But we will transition to add that new factor once we are able to start switching again. 3rd grade math is comprised of 15 units. We start with multiplication in the first 3 units, and then we go to division. We talk about patterns and fluency, how all those relate to multiplication. And then we, in Unit 7, we start to round and estimate numbers so that we can add and subtract multi-digit numbers. And then sort of we come back to multiples and problem solving, which is, so you can probably guess that multiplication is pretty heavy in 3rd grade. We do go into understanding fractions, what fractions are, and then their equivalence and comparison to one another. And then our last 4 units are about time, 2-dimensional shapes, interpreting data, and then finding perimeter and area.
For 4th grade math, just to reiterate what Jeff said, we are also using Big Ideas. It's our first year using it. The students have access to workbooks in hand, and we will have access to the online ones when we're starting to switch again. Our units are a little bit different than 3rd grades. We do as well. We also have 15, and we start off with place value concepts in order to build a strong base for the rest of what we will be doing this year. Then we'll move into adding and subtracting multi-digit numbers, which helps us then move into our multiplication of 1-digit and 2-digit numbers. Once they've mastered multiplication, we move into division, division of multi-digit numbers by a 1-digit number. And then from there, we transition into learning now about, once we have our base of multiplication and division, we learn about factors, multiples, and patterns within different numbers and number groups. Oh, excuse me, my screen X'd out. Sorry about that. From there, we move into learning about equivalent fractions and comparing fractions to each other. Once we have that base of fraction knowledge, we move into addition and subtraction and multiplication of fractions, as well as whole numbers and fractions. And then finally, we move on to relating fractions to decimals. And then we end up with the last few units of understanding measurement and its equivalents, which transitions us into using perimeter and area formulas, then helping identify and draw lines and angles, to end the year with identifying symmetry and two-dimensional shapes. Another thing that we offer is a math workshop, which is one way that we teach math. It's going to happen at least 2 times per week when we are switching classes. What's a little bit different about this than a normal math class is students are given a complex problem. They will have time to work and sometimes struggle individually on their own with the problem, then work with a partner, and then with a full group. The focus is going to be on explaining their thinking and how they were able to work with the struggle. It helps them build confidence in their own abilities, as well as teaches teamwork with their classmates and cooperation.
Moving on to 4th grade literacy. We start the year by doing close reading, which is reading and rereading for deeper thinking and understanding. We focus on a variety of comprehension strategies, such as inferring, questioning, making connections, and we work on this at the beginning of the year so that we can build a strong foundation of reading and have the kids be as independent as possible. We do a lot of informational writing throughout the year where the kids need to do their own research, and working on those close reading skills at the beginning of the year builds that foundation for them to be independent and read to learn so that they can produce written work to share with their classmates and form opinions and present information. So we also do in quarter 1 a personal narrative. And then quarter 2 is when we start using those skills that we work on in first quarter to research and build knowledge and to teach others. And we all do this interest-based topics, so the kids can choose their topics that they want to write about with informational writing. Within reason, we need to be able to find resources and things that are at their reading level in order for them to access the content in order to write about it. But that's the overarching theme of quarter 2. Quarter 3 is considering perspectives and supporting opinions, more of opinion writing, researching topics, presenting both sides of some sort of debate, and then writing about their opinion, but backed up with facts and reasons, and also considering the other side, even if they don't agree with it. And quarter 4 is gathering evidence and speaking to others. So it's mostly using text evidence to discuss books, and we kind of loop back around to those close reading skills that we're working on now, and having discussions using academic vocabulary with their peers. We'll also work on critiquing and reviewing stories and things of that nature. A couple of the things that are on here that are related to literacy. One of them is a Lexile.com book search, which we can send to you as a PDF. But when we map test, which we're doing on the 15th and 16th of September, during that week, for reading, you're given their score will give you a Lexile range, and it's basically what their reading level is in this specific scale, but it's a good resource to try to find books that your child might be interested to read at home or to be reading at school that would be developmentally appropriate for them, where it's not too difficult nor too hard. And another site where we get a lot of our information for some of those units is Newsela, and Newsela is good because it's also tied to Lexile. So you could have students at with 4 different reading levels, reading the same article and getting the same information, but being able to access it in different ways, and also has an option to read to you. So that way we can work on the same article together, but differentiate for each student's needs.
One other resource that we like to use is called Epic Books. Epic Books has an extensive collection of books and audiobooks, and also read-to-me books. The books are categorized by Lexile levels, so as David mentioned, once you receive that, you can help find your kids books that are appropriate for their level of reading, and then eventually ones that will be more challenging to them. It's more or less an online library that has a huge number of books accessible.
I'm going to try to show you how to subscribe to the web pages, but I don't know how fast this is really going to work. But right now I'm on the Westgate Community School web page, and to get to any of our classes for any teacher in this pod, you would first click on Academics and then hover over to Classroom Pages. And for us, you would select 3rd and 4th grade, and then it has all 4 of our classes broken up by which class it is. So whichever class your child is in, you can select that class. I have math 3rd grade, and you can just click subscribe by email, and it will ask you for your name, first name, last name, and email and student's name. And then when we do have our weekly posts, you can see what your child will be learning that week, and it will be automatically sent to your email. There are some things that I personally put up there for the kids to access. So if you do get an email, since you are subscribed, it might go to you. Like we did a vote today for service learning, so that is for the kids. So just little things like that. But if you're mostly looking for the information, it's all going to be on those teacher pages. And I don't know how laggy that was as I was presenting, but if you're having trouble or you feel like you're not getting information, just reach out to your child's advocacy teacher and we can help you get set up with that too. So I think that's all of our information. Sorry about the lag and the fact that you couldn't see the information, but we can download this as a PDF, and we can just send it out to our advocacies, and you can access it from there if you want to peruse it. But if there are any questions, I guess you can put them in the chat now. The only one I see right now is about testing results. So the main one for that would be the MAP test, which will happen mid-September. Right now the kids have already been placed for literacy and math, and your child may know who their literacy or math teacher is. I know students in my advocacy do. At what point in the year would a kid transition up or down if they seem to need it? I think that would probably be based off of conversations had during conferences. That's usually something that if we were to switch a kid, that would be something that we discuss at a conference unless something's changed with that. But those are rare, but sometimes necessary, so they do happen.
Ms. Siebel, would you like to excuse me, answer that next one. Online option.
Yeah, I can say we are not going back to the way that things were last year. There's no reason to think that we're going to go into long-term quarantines. The quarantines will be short. And we are looking at other options for teachers to be able to teach if their whole class is quarantined. But if the whole class is not quarantined, then it will just continue to be packets. Teachers are not going to go back to both teaching in the classroom and streaming to kids at home. So I hope that answers your question.
Are there any other questions? So conferences are October 4th and 5th. I don't know if there's a set date yet for that, but it's usually about a week or two before the actual conference period. So I would anticipate it late September, near the end of September, those last week or two of September for conference signups. All right, well, I guess sorry about the tech difficulties, but we can send out the PDF, and if you wanted to check that over, you could always email your child's advocate and let us know if you have any other questions. But thank you for attending and for your patience.
Thank you.